while back, Jim Bakker got himself in some really hot water over quack cures. The dude has been selling quack cures to various ailments since he's been a televangelist, honestly. If you're unfamiliar with Jim Bakker, I'll go through the whole story, give you a little bit of information on who he is. So this clip came out mid-February 2020. As I mentioned, he's a televangelist. This is a clip that really got him in hot water. This is right when the virus started to be recognized and accepted, and, Trump was coming out on TV and saying, we're working on it, we're doing this thing and that thing, and trying to mitigate the problems, and cases were reported in a bunch of different states and stuff. That's when this clip came out, when people started taking it seriously at first. So check this clip out by Jim Bakker.
This influenza that is now circling the globe.
Not influenza. I just want to put that on record. Nobody thought that it was at that time. There's absolutely no reason for him to even use that term, but it's beside the point. Let's just keep listening.
You're saying that silver solution would be effective.
Well, let's say it hasn't been tested on this strain of the coronavirus, but it's been tested on other strains of the coronavirus and has been able to eliminate it within 12 hours.
No, completely untrue. What he's talking about here is this silver solution here. We'll come back to this in a second, but silver solution, also known as colloidal silver, has no useful health benefits of any sort. It's snake oil, plain and simple. Silver solution is snake oil. And what's Jim Bakker doing? What's he using it as? What's he selling it as? What's he marketing it for? Curing a virus. Absolutely grotesque what he's doing here. Absolutely grotesque. Like I said, it got him in a lot of hot water, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's keep listening.
Totally eliminate it, kills it, and deactivates it.
Yeah.
Not true. Not true. Just a flat-out lie.
Yeah.
And then it boosts your immune system, so then you can support the recovery, because when you kill the virus, then the immune system comes into action to clear it out.
Also not true. Doesn't boost your immune system, doesn't do anything.
A vibrant immune system, as well as an ability to deactivate these viruses.
That's so good.
Complete nonsense. But, like I said, it got him in some hot water. The FDA didn't really like the fact that he was lying to his televised audience. Check out this article from the Friendly Atheist website, friendlyatheist.com. This is written by Hemant Mehta. He's writing on a website called Only Sky now, but this is on his old one, Pathos. Anyway, let's read a little bit of this article. June 23rd, 2021. Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt has just won a $156,000 judgment against Jim Bakker after the televangelist spread a harmful lie on his show several times. Yeah, this was not the only instance of Jim Bakker trying to peddle colloidal silver. Alex Jones was doing it too. Honestly, one of the most evil things that you can do, exploiting people financially during a worldwide pandemic like that, truly evil. Truly evil stuff, dude. Back to the article. After the televangelist spread a harmful lie on his show several times about the supposed effectiveness of silver solution as a treatment for 2019 novel coronavirus. Some backstory. Back in February of 2020, before we really understood how harmful and transmissible COVID was, Bakker began selling silver solution as a cure for the virus, saying the solution would kill off the virus in under 12 hours. And that's the clip that we just watched. It wasn't his only claim. Bakker said the product could get rid of all venereal diseases and prevent SARS and HIV. He also said that silver is almost like a miracle and that God created it in heaven. But the claim of a COVID cure was especially egregious. Around that time, Bakker received letters demanding he stop his this particular grift from New York Attorney General Letitia James. We've heard a lot about Letitia James recently. She's been going after Trump for some stuff, I think. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, and the FTC did the same thing, giving Bakker 48 hours to stop hawking that item before they came after him. He quickly stopped promoting it after nearly a dozen separate segments on his show, but the harm was done. That's when Schmidt stepped in. He sued Bakker's ministry, which is based in Missouri, in March of 2020 for spreading this lie. Honestly glad there's somebody out there doing this. To peddle a quack cure, to peddle snake oil like this, during one of the worst times for humans in our history, dealing with a worldwide pandemic, people dying all around us, and what's this guy doing? Selling snake oil. Bakker argued that he hadn't personally promoted the product, that his guest Selman did, but this was his show and his ministry. That meant he was responsible. Bakker's lawyer, former Missouri Governor and Attorney General Jay Nixon, then tried a different tactic. He argued that Schmidt was going after Bakker's religious freedoms. While it's true that silver products are sold elsewhere, no one else was suggesting it could cure the virus, since that would be false advertising. Nixon also argued that Bakker shouldn't be punished because he didn't sell it with actual malice, as if Bakker's ignorance granted him immunity to selling a dangerous sham product. Even Marcella Woodall, the president of Bakker's ministry, Morningside Church Productions, told the judge that selling silver solution was part of their faith because the product was made available to this generation by God, and Bakker was divinely inspired to offer it to his audience. None of it worked, and now, today, which is, I think, June 2021? Yeah, June 23rd, 2021, is when this article was written. It says, now, today, Schmidt announced a resolution to the case. Bakker basically won't have to pay exorbitant penalties, but he has to reimburse every single person in Missouri who bought the product. That came out to a total of $156,000, basically. The actual judgment, by the way, notes that Bakker is denying any and all allegations of wrongdoing, and that both sides have agreed to this resolution to avoid a more costly legal battle. If Bakker doesn't follow through with the reimbursements, he will have to cough up a separate $50,000 payment to the state in civil penalties and another $10,000 for Attorney General's costs. So the point here is that Jim Bakker tried to sell snake oil, basically, got sued for it, and got in a lot of trouble, and basically nearly went bankrupt. Not just because of the silver stuff, not just because of being sued and everything else, but because of a whole bunch of other legal penalties that he had to deal with. I mean, if you're not familiar with who Jim Bakker is, back in the 90s or the 80s, I think, he was a televangelist. He's been a televangelist for like ever. He got in a whole bunch of trouble in the 80s for, hang on, let me just look this up. I did a full breakdown about Jim Bakker on my main channel a while back, but I don't even remember what his charges were for now. So this article apparently is on the History Channel website. I had no idea that they covered things like this. The title is Televangelist Jim Bakker is indicted on federal charges. There was a whole scandal involving women, of course, and wire fraud, I think. Let's just read a little bit of this. He was married to Tammy Faye Bakker. They eventually got divorced. And he went to jail for like 8 years, I think. Yeah, okay. Bakker was accused in 1987 of misconduct by Church Secretary Jessica Hahn, which led to his resignation, and his illegal misuse of ministry funds eventually led to his imprisonment. In 1990, biographic television movie Fall from Grace, blah, blah, blah. Basically, his illegal misuse of ministry funds is what I was talking about. And like I said, that led to, I think, 8 years in jail or something like that, and eventually got out of jail on some technicality. They released him because the judge in the case basically said, you're disgracing the name of God by doing what you do. You're a charlatan, and you are a disgrace to Christianity. And Jim Bakker got his entire case thrown out after 8 years because he said that he was religiously persecuted by the judge, because the judge said that he was just... Anyway, it's a big, long story, but that's what happened. He was accused of misconduct by his secretary, Jessica Hahn, and then he misused church funds and everything. And now guess what he's doing? He's out here selling snake oil. Late April 2022, Jim Bakker comes out on his show, and he says this.
I've been in extreme spiritual warfare for the last 2 years. And I had a stroke 2 years ago.
That's true. I remember when he had the stroke. I don't revel in anybody's suffering. I don't want anybody to die. Nobody. So I'm sorry that he had to deal with the stroke, but keep listening. So extreme spiritual warfare, right?
And other things have happened to me. The government's tried to take my ministry from me.
Because the devil's trying to take you out.
The government's trying to take your ministry from you, you say? Interesting way of saying, I tried to sell snake oil on TV and I got sued out of existence for it. I tried to break the law. I tried to manipulate poor people and manipulate their trust in me. That's a funny way of saying all that, Jim. The government's trying to take my ministry. Right. And he's got this person on here to defend him.
devil's trying to take you out because you're a threat.
That's
and we're
right.
all a threat in the kingdom. And see, if we're passive and we're stagnant, then we're not a threat, and he's not threatened by us. But if we get equipped for battle, you see, you are releasing the voice of the prophets. You are releasing this platform.
The devil
and the
hates
devil
me.
is trying to take
Look at his little lip quivering. Look at his quivering lips. You see this?
you out.
This guy is a stain on Christianity. Really, this guy's a stain on Christianity. Looks like he's mastered the lip quiver, though, hasn't he? He's mastered that lip quiver. He also sells bonus buckets. I don't know if you guys knew this about him, but he's got this thing called bonus buckets. Let's see here. Yeah, $115 for Moo's Milk Low-Fat Milk Alternative. 4-gram bulk. AF Pinto Bean 4-gallon bulk. Okay, 4G is 4-gallon. AF Pinto Bean 4-gallon bulk. These are bonus buckets, is what they're called, colloquially. And they're basically like when the apocalypse comes, you'll have these bonus buckets of food sitting around that you can eat. They're prepackaged meals. I think most of them have, like 30 meals, 30 prepackaged meals or something. And they're good for a certain number of years and so on and so forth. Honestly, kind of a waste of money. Preppers don't really buy these. Usually, I think what preppers will buy instead of bonus buckets is they'll buy a giant case, like a giant bucket full of rice and a bucket full of beans, because that's your protein and carbs and everything else, and you can cook those together and make all kinds of good meals out of rice and beans. So they'll get gigantic buckets of rice and beans, or they'll get MREs, meals ready to eat. Those last for like ever, and you can cycle those out. That's what the military eats, MREs. So usually what preppers are getting is something other than this. This is not helpful. I mean, I guess you can probably buy these if you really wanted, but it's a total ripoff. So anyways, yeah, that's Jim Bakker. I just want to give you a little bit of insight into who this guy is, this lip-quivering guy here. So why are we talking about Jim Bakker now? Check out this latest clip. This one is from late April 2022. He had something new that he wanted to get off his chest. Listen to this.
They call it "Don't Say Gay," and it's not true. It's not even in the law.
If you're curious, this is a culture war issue. I'll just give you some insight. There's a new bill called the Don't Say Gay bill that is extremely restrictive and basically removing rights from LGBT people, removing freedoms, trying to push them back in the closet, basically. That's what the bill is doing. Just a quick, basic explanation if you're watching this like 2 years in the future.
No. Don't even get us started on all this, Jim.
Well,
yes,
no. I'm asking the woman of wisdom here of what to do, because I get fought on every hand if I mention anything. And it's going to be preachers that we're not going to be able to preach much longer.
If I get fought on every hand if I mention anything, you mean like selling colloidal silver to cure HIV or venereal diseases? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Guess what? People are going to have a problem with that because you're lying to your audience. You're lying to them. You're taking advantage of them. You're fleecing gullible suckers. And it's wrong. So, no, I'm not okay with you doing that. And apparently the state isn't okay with that either, because they can sue you for doing something like that. There's a distinct difference between that and religious persecution.
We're not going to be able to preach much longer because they'll shoot us in the pulpit. They will kill us in our pulpits.
Wow, that's a tall claim. Not really sure I believe you, but okay, let's hear your reasoning.
You don't believe me? They're already doing it.
Any evidence? Can you give me anything? I'll take anything. Please, lay it on me. They're already doing it? What are you talking about, Jim? Is there anything behind these cold, dead eyes? Anything behind those eyes? You got a lot of people to beat before you reach that point. Jim Bakker is up there, man. You know, that's not even the first time he's made this claim. And it's certainly not the last. Check this one out. This one is from mid-October 2021. He said something really similar.
There's warfare. And there's not going to be the voice of any prophetic word in America soon if the enemy has his way. They are working on it, and you'll find them shooting the prophets. Are you listening to me at all? Can you hear me? Yeah. Yes. I think my mic's broke. God spoke to me this years ago that at some point in the end we would die in the pulpits because they're afraid of us. The only thing keeping America from total destruction is the Bible, is the Church of Jesus Christ.
Yes, amen.
So now he's claiming that it is actually actively happening now. They're actually doing it right now. There are people dying in their pulpits. That is so completely unhinged, dude. So completely unhinged. Doesn't stop there, though. Does not stop there. Mid-June 2019. He's been doing this forever.
Everybody, basically everybody except 3 people that I know of said that Donald Trump could not be elected. They said all the polls say he will not be elected.
I'm like, I don't think anybody, well, there were certainly people out there that were overly confident, but the polls did not indicate that he had no shot at winning. Back in 2016, we all knew that Donald Trump had a pretty good shot of winning. Now, there were a lot of reporters out there who were making a lot of ridiculous claims. Hillary's got it in the bag, blah, blah, blah. There's no reason to think that. No reason to think that. I didn't believe that Hillary was guaranteed to win either. I remember thinking about it at the time. I didn't believe that Hillary had a straight shot to the White House. So, yeah, this is a little bit overstated what he's saying here.
Will not be elected. How come he was elected? Because God's people voted. Right. And the world knows it.
That's right.
The enemies of the gospel know it. And I want to tell you what. I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it anyhow.
Lay it on me, brother.
Oh, boy.
Because what's coming next, if we keep losing, you're going to see the leaders of the church and the leaders of the gospel and the political conservative leaders that are powerful, you're going to see them suddenly die, suddenly killed, suddenly as they were driving, suddenly as they were in a boat, suddenly in an airplane. You're going to see one after. God spoke to me this years ago what would happen near the end. And I believe we're in that time. They're so desperate. This is life and death.
Yeah, this is absolutely grotesque, dude. What he's been doing he's been doing this for years. As he said a minute ago, he's been saying this for years. It's nothing but fear-mongering. It's trying to get people to buy his bonus buckets, trying to scam people out of their hard-earned money. He's been doing it since the 70s or the 80s, and there's no sign of stopping now. What was it he said? The government's trying to take over his ministry or whatever else. No, we just want you to stop being a scam artist, plain and simple. But I'll tell you what, I actually have a little bonus video here for you. Remember when we were reading the Wikipedia page earlier, Bakker was accused of misconduct by Church Secretary Jessica Hahn. She accused him of attacking her, basically. The evidence was there. There were multiple investigations into the guy. You just want to put that on record. Well, here's a little bonus for you. You guys remember Stephen Dollins? This is the guy that claimed to have come from the Church of Satan. He was a high priest in the Church of Satan. Completely made up. He was never a member of the Church of Satan. And he says that Pokemon is evil. It's satanic, and it's a plot to try to get kids to get involved in Satanism early. Well, as it turns out, he mentions Jim Bakker in one of his sermons at the Prophecy Club. So listen to this. This is just a little bonus bucket clip for you, if you will. Check this one out.
In 1972, one of the things that we got to see because of our position, because
of his position in the Church of Satan as a high priest. Not true. He was never a high priest in the Church of Satan. From my understanding, there have only ever been 2 high priests in the Church of Satan. The guy who started it, Anton LaVey, I think his name is, and the acting high priest, which I forget his name now. But this guy was never a high priest in the Church of Satan. That's neither here nor there.
Because of our position, because of my position, was a pamphlet sent out by the church called the Cloven Hoof 2.
The Cloven Hoof is actually, or was, a pamphlet, but I'm pretty sure it was public. It wasn't like this private thing.
The Cloven Hoof 2 was a black pamphlet, and in that were instructions either for your group or plans that the church or what we refer to as the Illuminati were planning on doing. The third step that didn't take place was the assassination of all major evangelists in the United States. Every major evangelist had a hit contract out on them.
Oh my God, Jim Bakker's been listening to old Stephen Dollins here.
Sent out by the church. And I remember Billy Graham saying years ago on one of his television crusades that he felt like his life was in danger more so than any other time. He doesn't know how right he was. The only reason that they couldn't get to him is because the power of God and protection of God was all over those men. And they find out they couldn't get to him physically, so what they did is they hired church hookers to go and set them up sexually.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, first of all, if the power of God was protecting these men, that means they don't need security, right, at all? Like, if you are a man of God, then you shouldn't need security units for any reason ever? Is that right? Let's keep listening, because it gets weirder, surprisingly.
What they did is they hired church hookers to go and set them up sexually. We can't destroy the minister, so we'll destroy their ministry. So people like Jim Bakker, Jimmy Swaggart, and multi-dozens of others all got set up and their ministry destroyed.
Wow, this dude is defending Jim Bakker. That is something else. Like I said, the evidence against Jim Bakker was rock solid in the investigations, and that's why he went to jail. So yeah, it wasn't about it was his secretary. His secretary accused him, Jessica Hahn. Honestly, don't know how this guy can sit here and justify this stuff. It's truly grotesque.
Their ministry destroyed. One of the steps on that plan said this: we will infiltrate the education and media system. We will find a way to make evil look cute.
And then he goes into Pokemon, of course. Absolutely fascinating. This guy entertains the hell out of me, honestly. This isn't even from one of the main videos about Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or anything. This one is from this, basically 5-hour-long sermon that he gave about his experience in the Church of Satan. Like I said, he was never in the Church of Satan. So he spoke 5 hours about, he just made it all up because it doesn't describe anything like what it's like to be in the Church of Satan. It's a non-theistic religion. And this guy was describing theistically worshiping Satan. I guess there are probably Satanist groups out there that are kind of like what he was describing, maybe? I don't know of them, but they're probably out there. But not the Church of Satan. He just made all of this up. So anyway, endlessly entertaining stuff. And I thought it was particularly interesting that he mentioned Jim Bakker and tried to defend him. There truly is no defense for this guy. The guy just scams his audience nonstop, and it's disgusting, in my opinion.